I'm Bat Tracy.
And I'm Lex Dahl from Punk Rock Blues.
We run a YouTube channel called Punk Rock Blues, and we basically just talk about our love of physical media and Blu-rays and DVDs, and yeah. Question 1, what physical media do you collect? So basically, we collect a lot of movies. Basically, DVDs, Blu-rays, 4K, TV shows, movies, basically just
anything.
All physical media of any kind. You know, we even collect CDs and comic books and stuff. Vinyls, yeah. But our main thing is definitely Blu-rays and DVDs. I'll show a little bit around the room as we talk more about questions, but it basically extends my whole bedroom, basically.
And it started as DVDs, but it surged into the Blu-ray world.
The Blu-ray, yeah. 2, please show any shots of your collection, like bookshelves filled with Blu-ray and VHS on DVDs, and talk about your collection while filming. Oh, so that's basically what we're doing, yeah. So, just a small backstory on our collection is, I've always tell people, when people ask, like, how'd you get into it, I always say, well, like, our dad's really into movies, and just growing up, you know, our parents always had a big VHS collection, and then as kids we had a bunch of DVDs, and then it just snowballed from there for me. Is I always loved movies and cinema, and just filmmaking in general, and so this is just a natural progression of...
I remember earliest memories of watching every weekend, watching VHS, putting it in the rewinder, and I even remember...
I still have a rewinder.
Very early memories of, like, going to, like, the grocery store or, like, convenience stores and getting excited when they had a movie, and, like, knowing... Like, the one that comes to mind is I found Walk the Line at a grocery store and went, I know we don't own this. I'm gonna buy this real quick. And I was, like, 7.
The thrill of the hunt.
Yeah.
Does nostalgia play a part in your collecting, liking physical media? I think nostalgia plays a big part in physical media.
Yeah.
I think it's being a nerd in general. I always say, like, I'm a movie nerd, because just being a nerd to me is not afraid to just show that you love things. And I love movies, and I collect movies, and, like, half of me buying movies is things I remember as a kid and being like, oh, this one movie I saw as a kid where this scene happened, and then hunting down what that is. You even have a fun story of a movie you remember as a kid and then hunting it down. And someone from Facebook being like, oh, what is this?
I do have that story, yeah. I watched a movie as a kid just, like, before school one day, and I never knew the name of it for years and years, and I posted it on Facebook. I posted everything about the plot that I remembered, and within 8 minutes I got a reply. It was Little Manhattan, starring Josh Hutcherson. But another big nostalgia one for me that I thought of, and I know you had an example too, big one for me is Hoodwinked, when we got this on Blu-ray, because this is my favorite movie growing up, and I had this in, like, a little case that I just found the disc somewhere, and all I could keep in was a little case, and I watched it so much I scraped it, like, unwatchable. And so the fact that, like, this is re-released, like, this was a big one. I know you had an example.
Just recently, like, movies that I loved as a kid, a good example being... Wild America is one of my most rented... I used to rent this from Blockbuster every night as a kid, or every week, and we'll watch it endlessly on VHS, and this just came out on Blu-ray just this year, and I was so happy, because I was like, this is my childhood, and I have it on Blu-ray now. You know, even, like, same with the Power Rangers. I loved Power Rangers as a kid, and the Power Rangers movies just came out from Shout Factory. That was a big deal for me. I really loved that.
Like, Big Trouble was another one where, like, I watched this so much, like... I found it on YouTube just to watch it, and then I finally got a Blu-ray release, and it just meant so much.
Nostalgia playing a part in collecting physical media, I think, is a big part of it, because, like, as a kid, I was super into superheroes. Like, superheroes were my favorite thing as a child, and that love of superheroes never went away, as to where superheroes are the only genre of movies or physical media that I have a separate section dedicated to. Like, this whole upper section and here is all superhero stuff and superhero movie genres, and nostalgia plays a big part of that, and so I think, that's it. Question 4, why do you collect physical media? We kind of answered this in other parts if you cut it together. I don't know who's editing this, but not to give you pointers or anything. But, sorry, just reading again. Why I collect physical media is mostly because I just like to have the movie, and I can watch anything at any point at any time when I want to. And a big reason I choose physical over like streaming is there's too many streaming services, and sometimes they just don't have the movie that you're looking for if it's like an obscure or rare title, or like just like a smaller budget film. And then another thing is streaming is so unreliable as to things can just get taken off at any point, or if a studio owns a film and they just, with Disney Plus being an example of them recently editing movies, censoring movies. You can't censor a Blu-ray. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, so physical media, I think it's going to see a really big resurgence, mainly because of all this censoring that's going on with movies. And I just don't think that's cool.
Well, I mean, it's been a big thing within the few past years, even to bring up like vinyl. Is like people are like vinyl's the comeback.
Yeah,
and
things
it's
will
just
probably
about
come back.
time. Yeah, it's just about time. The Blu-rays. It's also just. I mean, I think you touched on it a little bit. It's nice to have in it. Yeah. It's nice knowing like
being able to just hold something in your hand, to be able to look at it, like read it. Read the plot. It's got everything on there.
I paid $20 for this. Yeah, it's mine.
I'll never get like one of my favorite things as a collector is just going.
Yeah.
Like, just opening it.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm a big guy. The J cards. I always have to rip off the J card. You can't do that. They don't have, like, a virtual J card. Like, oh, you're about to watch the movie. Hit this button to release the virtual J card. They don't have that.
Okay.
You keep skipping questions because you talked about streaming earlier again.
Yeah.
With video on demand taking over online, how can physical media survive today? So a big thing, and we've talked about it a lot, this is one thing that came to mind for me, is... I think, and I thought about this more and more, reading the question and thinking about it, is we've talked about how streaming services should release their content on physical media as well. I thought of another way that is so, like, prevalent is not everyone has Netflix. It seems like everyone does. Yeah. Not everyone has every streaming service, but there's still people that only collect physical media. Like, we know people that just buy DVDs still and stuff. And it's like, if you... release your stuff on a DVD,
there's just that many more eyeballs.
And if you went and bought this movie, on a DVD, and you're like, oh, this is a Netflix film, but I don't know Netflix, I just got to see this movie. It could even persuade to get their, to get the streaming service.
Up, yeah.
So I think that's a way that they can kind of intertwine.
Well, I think with video on demand, you're still paying the same price.
Yeah.
For a movie, and I think a lot of people are starting to realize, with digital codes being so prevalent, is if you buy a digital movie, you're still paying $20 for it, whereas if you buy a movie on Blu-ray, it could be $20, you're paying the same price, and it also comes with the digital.
Yeah.
So you're getting physical and digital for the same price. So I think that's why, I don't think physical will ever leave for that reason. And also, like I mentioned in another clip, just the censoring of movies on streaming services, I don't think people are going to be okay with that, and I think it's going to piss a lot of people off.
And there's a very small phase out of it that I've seen sort of recently, but there's also the fact of DVDs, a lot of the time, still come in those Blu-ray packs. Most movies you still buy physical media, it's Blu-ray, DVD, digital. Like, that's most movies. That's 3 movies for the price of 1. Yeah.
Why is it important that physical media continues to be produced? Well, I think the biggest reason that physical media should continue to be produced is the censoring of movies on streaming services, and then also the fact that there's so many streaming services that it's just so costly per month. Like, if you have Netflix, Disney, HBO, Shudder, DC Universe, Prime Video, Hulu, that's potentially like $70 right there if they're all $10 a piece,
Crackle even has...
Well, Crackle's free, but it's just the cost of streaming services, it gets so high, and then, anything can be taking off of streaming services at any point. And even with digital movies are so unreliable, because you can buy a digital movie on a digital service like iTunes or Vudu or whatever, and the service can just shut down at any point.
Which has happened.
You just can lose your movies. They can just lose the rights of a movie and take it off. There's so many variables to where you can just lose a movie that you paid for. And I think that's totally wrong. Whereas, with a Blu-ray, you know, I'll always have this. You know, physical media, I think, is the best because you can never lose this.
Yeah.
I mean, unless, you know, something unexpected happens. Yeah. But, you know, no one can just take it away because they lose the rights or something, even though I paid for it. You know, I think that's the biggest reason.
And I think it's another fun thing of when we kind of started this back when we were just doing DVDs and not as many Blu-rays, is we were looking for a lot of out-of-print stuff.
Yeah.
And to know, like...
But yeah, just rare movies.
So much gets remastered nowadays, and so much comes out with anniversaries. To know that you owned, like, a first release of a movie, you went, oh, this is the first time this happened.
Yeah.
You know, and stuff like that. And now, you know, that's just really cool, too.
And just... Another reason it's so important is just you can just have a movie you can have, like my friends use me as basically like a new Blockbuster or a library where they can just rent out movies, and it sparks the interest in people, because I think movies is a universal love where everybody loves movies. Everybody has a favorite movie, everybody has a movie they love to watch, and everybody loves movies. So I think it's real easy to just connect with people, and then they're like, oh, you have a lot of movies, and it's really fun. I think physical media is the best.
There's such a thrill when someone goes, hey, do you own this movie? I need to see it. Do you know, have you heard of this movie? Do you own it? You know, how many copies do you have? It's one of those things. It's just a thrill there, and then it's a hobby that not a lot of people know. Yeah. I can't say I know another person in person that has this. You know,
I know. That's why I started YouTube.
Yeah.
Is like I found this community that I fell in love with.
To tell people, like, I collect movies. That's my thing. I don't do much with my time.
I know.
I sit in my room and I buy movies. You know, like there's not much that I do, and so this is so great to have that.
Yeah. As a person who collects physical media, I think it's amazing to be in this documentary about physical media. Potentially to own this movie about physical media on physical media.
To have something that we're in.
Yeah, which would be just phenomenal.
It's just insane.
So physical media is the best, and everyone should get into physical media.
Literally...
You gotta save it. I hope it never ends. I'll buy it for the rest of my life.
Any single social media site you could find me on has hashtag physical media for life in my bio. Yeah. Like, it is a thing that I live. It's such a pride, and, you know, it's a brand on my life. It's just something I'll never forget. Like, starting this, I mean, we've always had a lot of physical media. Yeah. I always look back, and I go to people's houses even before we did this. And I go, oh, that you have this shelf much? Yeah. You know? And to know I always had more, but to know I have this, like, it's such an amazing feeling. Where it just expands
the entire circle of the room.
Half of a bedroom.
Goes from this wall all the way to that wall, which both walls are off camera, and it goes all the shelves behind us. I think I have upwards of 2,500 and counting, so... it's an obsession that'll never end, and I love it.
We mentioned that our dad has always loved movies, and the fun part of with Blu-rays and DVD format is we get to do we buy the new Blu-ray and we get to give Dad the old copy, and he has his collection now, and he's growing so much. So it's nice that there's a community for this, like this documentary, and the makers behind this. There's community, in your family, and your friends, and it inspires.
Just movies are great in general, and that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
I don't know how to end it. Thanks for letting us be a part of this documentary. This was really great. I absolutely have a blast talking about physical media, and it's like the biggest part of my life in general. So
half of
it's literally half of my bedroom, and I dedicate all my time to movies and physical media, and doing a YouTube channel about it. So this was a blast. Thank you for letting us be a part of this.